Hello everyone, this is Shadow. Due to copyright restrictions on YouTube, I can't publish many of the audiobooks you love. That's why I've created a special paid service where you can enjoy over 300 high-quality audiobooks from platforms like Webnovel, Pocket FM, Audible, Wuxia, and more. Each novel comes as a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, no hidden fees. After payment, you'll receive full access via Telegram, along with all future updates for that novel. You'll find a wide selection of your favorite genres and titles, always in premium audio quality. Check the full list of available novels in the description. DM me now to get your favorite stories in audiobook form and start listening today. Chapter 291-290. Attacking the Duskwatch Clan, Part 1. Vask steps closer, voice tight with urgency. Your Majesty, please, tell us, what is happening? Emperor Varnin sits very still. The weight of the room seems to rest on his shoulders, the lines in his face are sharper. His eyes ringed with sleepless hollows. He breathes once, a long, tired inhale, then begins. It started last week, he says, each word careful. I called a meeting with the Spears to coordinate a response, how we push back the invasion. Suddenly, the portal that links our continent to the main one, it began acting strange, flickering, spitting raw mana. Varnin's hands curl slowly into fists on the arms of his chair. His voice grows heavier with each word. As soon as I reached the chamber, the portal was gone, shattered, like it had never been whole. And there he was, that man, Vernoso, lying on the ground, bleeding, broken. At first, we thought he was a victim of the collapse. The Stormveil Master leans forward, his eyes sharp despite the strain in his body. But he wasn't. Varnin shakes his head, his jaw tightening. No. He rose. He whispered something. I still cannot say if it was a word, a chant, or simply his will. But when the sound touched us, half of my spears fell where they stood. Their life force drained, as though the marrow had been stolen from their bones. Vask's claws click against the stone floor, his eyes narrowing. And you could do nothing? Not even you. The Emperor's laugh is short, bitter. A ghost of the pride he once carried. Nothing. That is the truth. We threw everything at him. Skills, relics, formations. But his presence swallowed it all. I learned then what it means to stand beneath a Tier 7. To him, we are nothing but an ant. The Stormveil Master closes his eyes, his voice little more than a whisper to himself. Is Tier 7 truly so far beyond reach? Vask's eyes narrow to slits, his claws flexing against the polished stone. His voice cuts through the heavy silence. So, he comes from the main continent. His tone is low, dangerous. From the way he acts, how he takes what he wants, how he treats us like livestock, he must be a wanted man. Someone cast out. Varnin lifts his gaze, the faintest flicker of sorrow in his eyes. Wanted or not, it doesn't matter. Power of that scale has no chains but its own. And for now, his voice dips, hollow and resigned. We are bound by his. Adro snaps his head toward him, fury breaking through the dread in his face. So you'll just bow? Hand over our lives, our legacies, because some arrogant vagrant. The Emperor's jaw tightens, but he doesn't rise to the insult. Instead, he speaks with the weight of a man cornered by inevitability. He made a promise. When he recovers his full strength, he will deal with the monster crisis. And after that, he will leave. Vask's breath catches. And you believe him? I don't. Varnin admits, his voice quieter now, almost a whisper. What can you do? Until tomorrow we wait. Dawn breaks over Duskwatch with the taste of iron in the air. Alex's forces slides across the plain endlessly. Heavy boots, scaled mounts, monstrous vanguards, and the long carriages that rattle with Manastone siege engines. The sky is still bruised from the night smoke and ash drift in ribbons above the camp. They meet Duskwatch's outer lines already bristling. Palisades, caltrops, trenchworks. Men and women in dusky cloaks move like a living net across the earth. But one thing is wrong. The banner at the command tower bears the clan sigil, yet the familiar figure who should stand beneath it is missing. In his place, a boy no older than 20 paces into the world and duty, masked by grim focus, giving orders to everyone. Ravik's shadow cuts over them. He floats a little higher, massive stone plate arm glittering with the dust of 100 wrecked fortresses. He spots the empty tower and sneers. Kid, where is your father? His voice is blunt, like a hammer. The young commander's jaw tightens. He does not answer. He straightens his shoulders, as if his silence is a blade. Gorvok drifts down, grin split wide but cruel as ever. His voice booms across the plain, loud enough to rattle helmets and stir horses. Are you lot planning something clever? Doesn't matter. You're all going down today. The 5 leaders exchange a look, small, precise. Then begin, Solyra says. Her voice is cool and ordered. Strike now. The field explodes. First, the siege lines answer, Alex's Manastone engines. Sleek, black barrels set on great wheeled platforms. Crack like thunder. Their crews chant, fingers threaded with conduit runes. Manastone cores glow hungry, and the barrels vomit elemental fire. A spear of condensed lightning that lances the sky. A sulphurous bolt that slams into the first wave and blooms into fire like a second sun. The ground shakes under the recoil. Birds flee in a panicked swirl. On Duskwatch's wall, the clang of warning bells echoes like a heartbeat. Hesier grips the stone battlement so tightly his knuckles pale. His eyes flick toward the horizon where the monster horde churns like a black tide, endless and unrelenting. He turns to the man beside him, his Uncle Greg, the clan's strongest warrior. The older warrior's face is lined and grim, his armor dented from years of war. Uncle, Hesier says, his voice hoarse, strained from sleepless nights. Still no word? No news from my father. Greg exhales slowly, resting his heavy axe against his shoulder. No. The last I heard, he marched with the other leaders to the Empire. After that, silence. The younger man's throat tightens. He looks back out over the seething enemy ranks, claws of fear curling in his chest. What am I supposed to do? His voice cracks, almost breaking. I don't know how to lead them. If he doesn't return, if he's gone. Greg lays a calloused hand on his nephew's shoulder, grounding him. His voice is steady, like stone against a storm. Then you do what you must. Not what you want, not what you fear. What you must. These people need someone to stand. If your father cannot return, then you stand in his place. And know this. He lifts his axe, its edge catching the dawn light. I'm here. I'll fight at your side, until the last stone of Duskwatch crumbles. Suddenly, a boom rips through the dawn. The shield above Duskwatch shudders, rippling like glass struck by a hammer. Crimson cracks crawl across the barrier for a breath before the wardstones flare, knitting it back together. The mages along the wall stagger, blood spraying from their lips as they clutch their staves tighter, runes burning beneath their feet. Hold it! One archmage rasps, his hands trembling. Don't let it collapse. The barrier steadies, but faint threads of smoke rise from their robes. Hesier grips the battlement, his chest tightening. They're targeting the shield directly. Another boom. Another quake. Dust rains from the parapets. The sky flashes as the siege engines unleash again, and again the barrier bends. The mages cough blood in unison, some collapsing to their knees. Greg snarls, slamming the butt of his axe into the stone. Damn it! They won't last long like this. Then movement. The 5 leaders of Alex's vanguard surge forward, each aura swelling like a storm. Flames, earth, and storm writhe around them as their attacks lance toward the shield, their combined strikes cracking it further. Hesier's breath hitches. They're joining the barrage. His voice hardens, young but resolute. If the shield falls now, the city dies. He straightens, turning toward the assembled veterans at his back. Duskwatch's remaining Tier 6 warriors, eyes burning with grim fire. Stop them! He shouts, his voice carrying over the chaos. Hold the leaders back at any cost. Buy the mage's time. The warriors roar in answer, vaulting over the wall and streaking into the sky on bursts of mana. Weapons blaze, skills ignite, their bodies colliding with the enemy like thunder. Greg plants a hand on his nephew's shoulder, eyes fierce. Stay on the wall. Command your men. If you fall, Duskwatch falls with you. Hesier nods once, jaw set. I'll hold the line. Go, uncle. Greg grins, wolfish, and kicks off the battlement. He swings his axe with both hands, intercepting Solyra's crimson blaze mid-flight, splitting the sky with sparks. You traitors! Greg bellows. If you want my clan, you'll cut through me first. Chapter 292-291. Attacking the Duskwatch clan, Part 2. The battle erupts into chaos. The air above Duskwatch is alive with violence. Bolts of lightning, gouts of flame, jagged boulders of condensed earth. Every second, the shield that blankets the city ripples under the combined assault. It looks less like a ward and more like a glass dome pounded by titans. Solyra's fire spreads like wings, her figure cutting sharp against the dawn sky. Burn through it, she commands, and her flames lance downward in serpentine arcs, hammering the barrier. Greg meets her head-on, his axe roaring with golden light. He cleaves one of her fire serpents apart, the strike scattering sparks across the clouds. You won't pass me, witch! Below, Gorvok plummets like a meteor, claws glowing molten. 2 Tier 6 defenders intercept him, swords glowing with layered enchantments. He laughs when their blades clash against his hide, the force shaking the wall. Good. Don't die fast, at least. On the eastern flank, Ravik hurls a fist of solid stone the size of a house. It slams into the barrier, spiderweb cracks racing outward. The ward flares, but the mages stagger, their bodies shuddering under the strain. One collapses outright, his staff rolling from nerveless fingers. Reinforce! The archmage screams, veins bulging on his neck. Keep the channel steady. If the shield breaks, we're finished. Hesier grips the battlement until his fingers ache. His voice shakes, but he forces it into a command. Archers! Loose! Focus fire on the siege crews. Don't let them reload. Arrows streak from the wall, whistling through the smoky air. Dozens find their mark, felling ogre engineers and scaled beasts hauling manastone shells. For a heartbeat, the assault falters. Inside the carriage, the roar of battle is only a distant thunder, muffled by steel and velvet. Alex sits with one hand resting against the armrest, his crimson eyes fixed on the trembling glow of Duskwatch's shield in the distance. The dome ripples under every strike from his vanguard, but it still holds. His voice cuts the silence, calm and final. Mazel, go and break the shield. We don't have all day here. The giant doesn't hesitate. He bows his head once, the chains on his axes rattling as he turns. As you wish, your majesty. Mazel steps out of the carriage, the dawn wind tugging at his dark cloak. The battlefield below is chaos. Fire and lightning clashing against the shield, warriors screaming as they hurl themselves into the sky. But when Mazel moves, it's as though the noise bends around him, dulled under the weight of his presence. He rises into the air, his silhouette enormous against the pale morning light. The leaders below, Salira, Ravik, Kalen, Gorvok, Malrik, pause mid-battle and look up. Even the defenders feel the shift, their guts tightening as the heat in the air changes. The Tier 6 mages along the wall gasp, their mana threads trembling. What is that? His aura. It's burning through the shield. Mazel stops above the city, one massive hand resting on the chained haft of his axe. Lava-colored light seeps from his skin, tracing glowing veins across his arms and chest. His voice booms across the battlefield, low and final. Fall. The ground shudders as he lifts his weapon. The axes aren't just steel. They're stone-bound iron, forged to withstand the wrath of a volcano. Chains rattle as he crosses them before him, aura igniting. His words rumble like the opening of a fissure. Lava burial. The sky darkens. Heat thickens until even the clouds above start to curl and blacken. Then it comes, an eruption, as though the heavens themselves split open. A torrent of molten fire cascades downward, not as rain but as a river. Lava and flame, chained together by his will, pour in a single stream onto the shield dome. The barrier screams. Cracks ripple across its surface, glowing white-hot where molten fire strikes. Mages collapse instantly, vomiting blood as their channels are overrun by raw, burning force. Those who stand stagger, hands locked on their staves, trying in vain to redirect the impossible pressure. The defenders cry out, some shielding their eyes from the searing light. The air itself burns to breathe. Hold it! The Tier 6 mage rasps, but his body is already breaking, skin blistering, veins bursting. The dome fractures. Once, twice, then the cracks spread like lightning across glass. With a final roar, Mazel slams both axes downward. Chains lash, dragging the molten torrent with them, and the entire barrier shatters in an explosion of fire and light. The shield is gone. Smoke, ash, and molten stone rain across the walls as the protective dome collapses into sparks. Screams echo from the battlements. The defenders stagger back, eyes wide, horror etched into their faces. On the battlefield, Salira and the others grin savagely. The path is open. Mazel lowers his axes, their chained heads dripping with molten flame. His aura dims slightly, but his voice is still iron. It is done, your majesty. From the carriage in the distance, Alex does not rise, does not cheer. He simply inclines his head once, eyes glinting crimson as he watches the broken city before him. Advance, he says softly. And like the tide, his army surges forward. The moment the command leaves Alex's lips, horns blare across the battlefield. The sound is deep, rolling, and it seems to make the ground itself tremble. The sight of the shattered shield spreads through Duskwatch like poison. Soldiers on the wall drop their weapons in disbelief, staring at the empty sky where their dome of light had stood. Their voices are broken whispers. The shield, it's gone. No, no, it can't be. We're finished. Morale cracks like thin ice. The horns echo, long and low, carrying across the ruined plain. For a heartbeat, the battlefield freezes. both sides staring at the broken sky where the shield once blazed. Then the silence shatters. From the front lines, Alex's monsters roar as one, a guttural sound that shakes the dawn air. Ogre behemoths pound their chests, scaled drakes unfurl their wings, and the lesser fiends howl until the stone walls themselves seem to flinch. The tide surges. Duskwatch's gate, iron-banded oak, reinforced with runes, trembles under the first impact. A giant, armored beast with tusks like spears slams its bulk into the doors. The wards flare, but only weakly without the shield above. Their strength bleeds away. Again, bellows a troll captain, its hammer already dripping gore. The monsters obey. Siege weapons thunder, blasting against the gate. Horned war beasts hurl themselves forward, splintering the timbers. At the third impact, the wards shriek, then shatter. With a roar that drowns out the dying morning, the gate explodes inward, iron and wood splintering in all directions. Inside, tear them apart, howls the troll commander. The flood begins. Monsters and humans pour through the breach like water through a shattered dam. Hulking ogres swing their clubs into ranks of spearmen, scattering men like dolls. Spider-limbed horrors scramble over the rubble, tearing into archers before they can knock a second volley. Lesser fiends dart and leap, jaws closing on throats, dragging screaming men into the dirt. On the walls, the humans falter. The gate's down. They're inside. Pull back. Pull back. We can't hold them. Panic spreads faster than flame. Soldiers stumble backward, some throwing their shields aside as they flee into the streets. Others fight desperately, only to be cut down by monsters twice their size. Hesier stands on the battlements, his knuckles white against the stone as he watches the tide break through. The sight below is a nightmare. His men trampled under claw and fong. The gate shattered, the city breached. No, no, damn it! He growls, chest heaving. His voice cracks, but he forces it into a shout that carries across the crumbling defenses. Fall back, to the inner wall. All units, retreat. His captains hesitate, disbelief in their eyes. Young lord, if we give them the outer wall, they already have it. Hesier cuts him off, his glare burning. Do as I command. Pull them back now or we'll lose everything. Horns blare again, this time from within the city, signaling retreat. The battered soldiers latch onto it like drowning men to driftwood. Shields rise not in defiance but in defense, formations stumbling back through the streets. Every step pursued by howling monsters. Hesier grips his sword and looks skyward. His uncle's aura burns like a beacon above the chaos, locked in combat. Blades of light and arcs of flame clash, thunder cracking with every collision. For a heartbeat, Hesier feels a surge of hope. Uncle, he whispers. Chapter 293, 292, Myron Kingdom. Chapter 293, Chapter 292, Myron Kingdom. Hesier drives his men back through the smoke-choked streets, every heartbeat a struggle against panic. Behind them, the roars of monsters echo, claws scraping stone, wings beating the air. The inner wall looms ahead, a last refuge, a last chance. But then, shadows leap across their path. A dozen figures land before the retreating soldiers, steel gleaming, their cloaks marked in crimson. At their head stands Rurden, his eyes burning like live coals. Hesier freezes. Rurden? His breath catches, disbelief is written across his face. By the gods, you! Rurden raises his blade, the curved edge gleaming with fresh blood. His voice cuts like iron. You will not go anywhere. The soldiers falter behind Hesier, staring wide-eyed at men they once called allies. Rurden! Hesier steps forward, sword half-raised but not yet swinging. What are you doing? Fight with us? Help us defend. Help you. Rurden snarls, his aura flaring crimson as he surges forward. His blade crashes against Hesier's, sparks flying. You bastards, let my clan die. Steel grates as they lock weapons. Hesier strains against him, teeth clenched. That's not true. We send Rainf. Liars. Rurden shoves him back with a roar, swinging again in a vicious arc that Hesier barely deflects. The impact rattles his bones. If only you traitors sent reinforcements. If only you hadn't abandoned us to rot. My father would still live. Hesier staggers, regains footing, and slashes low. Rurden, listen to me. Enough. Rurden twists, parries, then drives a boot into Hesier's chest, sending him skidding back across the cobblestones. His face is a mask of grief and fury, his voice breaking even as he bellows. I will kill you, Hesier. I will kill you all and avenge my clan. Hesier spits blood, lifting his sword again. Around them, red ember warriors clash with his retreating soldiers, friend against friend, their shouts tangled with grief and rage. You think this will bring your father back? Hesier growls, lunging forward, their blades ringing out again and again. You think betrayal will heal your clan's wounds? Rurden meets him head-on, eyes wet but unflinching. No. But your blood will. Steel clashes, sparks falling like rain. Each blow is heavy with years of friendship turned to ash. Around them, soldiers cut one another down, while the two men fight beneath the shadow of the burning city. From high above, Alex watches it all unfold. The battlefield lies open before his eyes. Walls crumbling, streets drowning in blood. Men and monsters clashing until the city itself seems to scream. Beside him, Mazel's massive frame shifts, his forearms folded across his chest. His voice rumbles low, steady, like stone grinding. Your Majesty. Looks like the fight is almost over. Alex narrows his eyes. The air carries smoke, screams, and the taste of iron. He watches as Rurden's crimson cloak whirls among the melee, his blade flashing against Hesier's. Yes, Alex says slowly. It is, although it's quite strange their true leader hasn't shown himself yet. Mazel tilts his head. Cowardice. Perhaps. Alex's tone sharpens, his gaze cold. But it doesn't matter. Once the city is broken, we march on the Myron kingdom. Mazel bows his head slightly, satisfied with the certainty in his lord's voice. Below, the clash between Rurden and Hesier reaches its peak. Sparks fall like burning snow with every strike. Hesier fights with desperate strength, but desperation is not enough. A sudden feint, a brutal twist, Rurden's curved blade drives through his guard, piercing deep into his chest. Hesier gasps, blood spilling down his lips. His sword clatters against the cobblestones. Rurden. For the briefest heartbeat, Rurden hesitates, his face trembling with both rage and sorrow. Then he rips the blade free, and Hesier collapses to the ground, eyes wide and unseeing. The soldiers around them cry out, voices cracking in grief and terror. Some rush forward, only to be cut down by Red Ember Warrior's steel. Others throw down their weapons, retreating into the smoke. Alex leans back slightly, watching the young lord's lifeless form sink into the dirt. His voice is quiet, but edged with finality. It's over. The heavy wheels of Alex's carriage roll over the broken stones of Duskwatch's gate. The city is silent now, its walls cracked, its streets littered with ash, bodies, and shattered steel. The only sound is the steady march of boots, monster and human alike, echoing through the ruined avenues. At the inner square, 5 human leaders wait, their armor scorched from the battle but their posture straight as they step forward to greet their king. Kalen bows first, voice firm though his breath still carries exhaustion. Your Majesty, we have already gathered everything. All the gold coins the city could offer are here. He gestures to the rows of chests stacked high, overflowing with gleaming coins. Alex doesn't waste words. His eyes sweep once over the treasure, and then he lifts his hand. A faint shimmer ripples in the air. Then, in the span of a few heartbeats, every chest vanishes, leaving nothing but bare stone behind. The soldiers, human and monster alike, freeze in place. They stare at the empty square, the impossible sight burned into their minds. Whispers stir, but no one dares voice them aloud. Not one of them asks how their Majesty does it. Some bow their heads lower. Others clutch their weapons tighter, all written in their faces. Alex lowers his hand, his tone calm and absolute. Prepare yourselves. We move at once. The next destination is the Myron Kingdom. The words ripple through the gathered leaders and soldiers like a command carved in stone. Salira inclines her head, her hair stirring in the breeze. At once, Your Majesty. Ravik cracks his stone-plated knuckles, a grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. Finally, this is just a fantasy of mine to cave in the face of that arrogant bastard. Alex's gaze sweeps over the men and women still combing through the city. His voice sharpens slightly. Take what you can carry, equipment, arms, supplies. Leave nothing useful behind. Then, after a short pause, his tone hardens to finality. Except Tier 7 and above. Those, if they exist, remain untouched. The leaders glance at each other. A ripple passes between them, but none question it. Kalen bows once more. Understood, Your Majesty. Though, on this continent, I doubt there is a single Tier 7 relic to be found. Alex nods faintly. So do I. But doubt is not certainty. Be thorough. He settles back into the luxurious interior of his carriage. Mazel takes his place beside it, silent and imposing, his axes clinking faintly in the still air. Orders are barked across the square, and soldiers scatter into the city once more, prying open armories, stripping fallen warriors of their gear, and carting away piles of weapons and armor. Monster troops heft what humans cannot, their claws and scaled backs burdened with the spoils of war. The square empties into motion again, but the awe of what they just witnessed, the treasure swallowed in a single gesture, still lingers in the eyes of every soldier. The march takes little more than 6 hours. Alex's army moves like a tide across the land, boots and claws pounding the earth in steady rhythm, banners whipping in the wind. Smoke already trails above the horizon when the capital of the Myron kingdom comes into view. From the carriage, Alex watches the walls bristle with soldiers. Arrows glint in the sunlight, siege weapons creak into place, and horns cry out their alarm. Yet as the first stones are loosed, as monsters batter the gates and soldiers clash steel upon steel, something is missing. Kalen rides up alongside the carriage, his blade still dripping red from the last battle. "Your Majesty," he calls over the din of war. It is the same as before. The king of Myron has not shown himself. Alex's eyes narrow, his tone flat. Another coward hiding. Mazel, towering at his side, lets out a rumble like distant thunder. A kingdom without a king is already dead. The siege is brutal but swift. The gates fall within the hour, monsters surging through the breach. Human soldiers pour in behind them, the clash echoing through the streets. Screams rise, fires spread, but resistance crumbles quickly without a leader to rally them. By dusk, the banners of Myron are torn down, trampled into mud. Alex's carriage rolls into the capital's heart, flanked by columns of troops. The city square is already theirs. Corpses lie scattered, weapons abandoned, the proud defenses of the kingdom reduced to rubble. Kalen approaches once more, bloodied but unbowed. "It is done, Your Majesty. Myron is conquered." Chapter 294, 293. Special Tier 6 Skills. Chapter 294. Chapter 293. Special Tier 6 Skills. Alex steps down from his carriage, his boots pressing into the blood-stained cobblestones of the capital square. The fires from the battle still smolder, but the fighting has ended. His gaze sweeps over the ruined city with calm detachment. "Let everyone rest for the night," Alex says, his voice steady, carrying across the square. "And take all the gold coins to me." Kalen bows deeply, armor rattling. "As you wish, Your Majesty." He immediately turns, barking orders to the nearby captains. Soldiers scatter at once, dragging crates, breaking open vaults, and hauling bags of coins. Alex raises a hand and the great carriage behind him creaks forward, not from reins or drivers, but as if pulled by unseen strings. It glides across the stones smoothly until it settles in a clear space at the edge of the square. The soldiers stare, silent in awe, but none dare question. He enters the carriage, its interior a stark contrast to the battlefield outside. Soft light flickers across polished wood, shelves stacked neatly, and in the center, a wide bed draped with dark silk. Alex lowers himself onto it, his expression unreadable. Mazel lingers at the doorframe, his massive silhouette blocking out the light. "Stand guard outside," Alex says. Then, before the warrior turns away, his tone sharpens. "And one more thing." Mazel bows his head slightly. "Your command, Majesty. Tell the 5 human leaders to rally the soldiers tomorrow." Alex continues, his eyes glinting faintly. "Send them into the noble territories. Demand their surrender and their gold. If they yield, take everything. If they resist—" His voice drops to a cold edge. "Destroy them," Mazel said. "As you command." The carriage is quiet, the camp noise is a distant rumble swallowed by walls and ash. Mazel's boots fade away until the only sound is the slow creak of wood and the faint thrum of the manistones set beneath the carriage floor. Alex settles into the meditation chair, a low sculpted seat carved with rune etchings that glow faint when touched. He sits, plants his feet, and closes his eyes. He does not need sleep. At Tier 6 his body demands little rest, his mind wrestles instead with bigger things. Laws, patterns, the architecture of power that, in this world, decides whether a man bends or breaks. Alex steadies his breath. The world outside the carriage fades. The crackle of distant fires, the murmur of soldiers celebrating, even the soft groan of wood under shifting weight. In front of him, the system's transparent screen flickers to life, faint and obedient, the symbols of his skills arranged neatly before him. "Tier 6. He murmurs to himself, voice low and steady. "Elemental framework. Fire, ice, steel, storm." His hand lifts, and a small sphere of flame blossoms in his palm, dancing gently. It flickers with life, yet its essence feels shallow, limited. Alex frowns. This is surface power. Pretty, destructive, but shallow. It bends to will, but not to law. He lets the flame dissolve into embers and exhales slowly. Laws. They pulse inside him, every single one woven into his very soul by the system. Space, time, gravity, life, death, flame, storm. each an ocean he carries but has not yet set sail upon. At Tier 6, he cannot wield them directly without the frame of a Tier 7 skill. That is the nature of this world. But he is not of this world. His lips curl faintly. I will not wait for Tier 7. If I already carry the laws, why must I follow their rules? He closes his eyes, focusing on one of his Tier 6 skills, Flame Spear. The interface outlines it, familiar, condense elemental fire into a hardened projectile. Velocity scales with focus. Power limited to Tier 6 flame. Alex speaks into the silence. Limited to element. But what if I overwrite? He pictures the structure of the skill. A lattice of mana channels, spinning in his mind like gears of a machine. At its core, fire essence. Around it, trajectory, release, impact. And beneath it all, hidden but present, is a thread he can touch. A deeper foundation. A whisper of law of flame. He brushes against it. The air inside the carriage tightens, heat rippling faintly though no fire burns. Good. His tone sharpens with concentration. Now, fuse it. The flame gathers again. This time not just an elemental spark but a fragment of law woven into it. The sphere in his palm shimmers. Burns hotter, cleaner, brighter than any Tier 6 fire should. It does not flicker, it exists, absolute, as if reality itself acknowledges it. For a moment, the entire carriage creaks, sweating with sudden heat. Then, crack, the sphere collapses, vanishing into nothing. A faint scorch mark blackens the air itself, as if space rejected what it briefly held. Alex exhales sharply, chest rising and falling. His forehead dampens with sweat, though his eyes gleam with cold light. So that's it, he mutters. Law is not meant to bend. It demands to be understood. Element bends to will. Law! His voice lowers to a whisper. Is will. The transparent screen flickers, his skill list glowing faintly. The flame spear icon change. Alex stares at the screen, watching as the familiar icon shifts. A faint golden frame outlines the flame spear, the text beneath it glowing with new weight. Special Tier 6 skill, Flame Spear, Law infused. His lips curve into the faintest smile. So that's how you do it. For days he's been hammering at the wall, failing, watching skills collapse in on themselves. Tonight, finally, one breaks through. He leans back in the chair, eyes glinting with satisfaction. The system itself recognizes it. Not Tier 7, but not Tier 6 either. Special. His gaze sweeps over the long list of skills floating before him. Dozens upon dozens, each tied to different elements. Fire, ice, lightning, shadow, steel, wind, gravity, and more. Each one a weapon he has relied on countless times. Each one now waiting to be remade. 70, he mutters. At least 70 elemental Tier 6 skills. If I tried to fuse law into all of them tonight, I'd collapse before dawn. His fingers drum lightly against the armrest. He doesn't need sleep, but even his mind demands pacing. Pick the important ones first. The bread and butter of combat. Flame Spear for precision. Lightning Step for movement. Steel Shatter for defense. Shadow Bind for control. The screen flickers as he selects the next skill. Storm Veil. A simple yet vital one. Compress elemental lightning into the body, magnifying speed and reflexes. Let's see if you can carry more than thunder. He closes his eyes, weaving mana through the familiar structure, tracing the lattice of lightning that races along his veins. At its heart, he finds it, the whisper of law of storm. Not just thunder, not just flash and crackle, but the inevitability of skies breaking open. A spark dances along his leg, vanishes, then reappears on his shoulder. His body hums faintly, space around him warping with the static of restrained law. For a moment, he feels as if he could simply decide to be elsewhere. The system dings faintly. Special Tier 6 skill, Storm Veil, Law infused. Alex exhales, tension loosening in his shoulders. 2. Good. His voice is calm, but his eyes sharpen, firelight dancing in their depths. Tonight, I remake my arsenal. And so he works. Skill after skill, the night stretches long and silent, broken only by the faint crack of law fusing with element, or the soft ripple of failure when a structure collapses. His mutters fill the carriage, steady, relentless. Hours pass, yet his focus never falters. Outside, the camp sleeps. Fires burn low, soldiers rest. Unaware their king sits within his carriage, making miracle. The horizon bleeds pale gold as dawn creeps over the battlefield. Smoke still hangs in the air, and the distant crackle of dying fires fills the silence. Far from the city, 3 figures hold their post at the valley's edge, where any reinforcements to Myron should have appeared. Zurich crouches low on a ridge, his black fur shimmering faintly with distortions of space. He says nothing, his void-filled eyes scanning the empty plains. Gratham breaks the silence with a snort, leaning on his molten great axe. Heat hisses off his skin, the stones beneath his feet glowing faintly red. TCH. At least send some weak humans for reinforcement. It's boring to just wait here all night. High above, Valira coils lazily through the sky, her storm-wreathed wings cutting through the morning wind. Her voice rolls down like thunder. I just want to be at His Majesty's side. This should have been Mazel's duty, not mine. Chapter 295-294. The Law of Fire. Chapter 295. Chapter 294. The Law of Fire. Valira's words drift with the wind, sharp with envy. Lightning ripples faintly across her scales as she circles lower. Every moment I waste here is a moment I could be with His Majesty. I belong by his side, not watching empty fields. Gratham grunts, rolling his shoulders, magma dripping from the seams of his stone-like skin. Careful what you say, Snake. His Majesty gave the order. If he wants us here, then here we stay. Doesn't matter if the night is long. Valira hisses softly. Not in anger, but in raw frustration. The air bends under the subtle pressure of her wings. You think I don't know that? You sound like some grumpy old man. Don't you remember what it feels like to be in love? TSSK. Her voice trails off, and for a heartbeat, storm clouds ripple faintly around her wings. Through it all, Zurich remains silent, his shape barely visible against the folds of night. His breath is steady, the faint shimmer of warped space swallowing his presence until he's little more than a ripple in reality. Then he stiffens. The Void Warg's ears twitch, his head snapping toward the horizon. A pulse rolls over the valley, invisible yet undeniable, and the very air seems to flinch. Valira freezes mid-flight, her vast body coiling instinctively as thunder crackles across her scales. That aura! Gratham's grin vanishes, molten eyes narrowing. His grip tightens on the axe, the ground beneath him spiderwebbing with glowing cracks. Damn right, that pressure. It makes my bones remember. Zurich's voice is low, calm, yet carrying a weight that forces the other two to listen. It's a Tier 7. Coming this way. Silence. The kind of silence that presses against the lungs. Gratham's laugh is harsh, almost bitter. The last time we fought a Tier 7, the three of us died. You remember that? Ha! Felt my soul scatter like ash in a storm. Valira's eyes narrow, storms churning across her body. Her voice is steady, but her coils tremble with memory. This one, it's as strong as the last. We've faced worse. I can feel it. But still, Tier 7 is Tier 7. Above us. Beyond us. Zurich lowers his head, void shadows crawling up his fur like smoke. The three of us can't kill a being like that. Not even close. No matter how weak it is. His eyes glint, sharp as the edge of a blade in darkness. But we can buy time. Enough for His Majesty to arrive. Neither Valira nor Gratham argue. The oath is spoken, and that is enough. Without another word, Zurich melts into nothingness, slipping between layers of space like a shadow stepping behind a curtain. His presence vanishes entirely. The morning wind carries the scent of ozone, and then, a man walks into view. He wears his arrogance like a crown, every step measured, his long coat trailing faintly behind him. His aura presses down over the valley like a storm sky, turning 3 peak Tier 6 monsters into insects beneath his heel. Vernoso. His lips curve into a smile as his gaze sweeps the ridge, falling on the 2 visible guardians. Well, well, what do we have here? A magma brute and a skyworm. His laugh is quiet, almost playful, but his eyes are knives. He spreads his arms wide, as if inviting their answer. Ha ha ha. Are you really trying to stop me? Step aside, and perhaps you'll see another sunrise. Gratham slams the butt of his great axe into the stone, magma spilling from the cracks. His voice bellows like an eruption. Step aside? Human, listen well. If our king orders us to block a path, then no one passes while we yet draw breath. Valira coils above, her wings spreading wide, thunder booming across the sky. Her eyes are sharp, her voice a hiss of storm wind. Our lives are his to command, not yours to spare. Vernoso chuckles, shaking his head as if disappointed in children. Loyal pets, fierce but blind. Very well. His aura flares, heavy and merciless, drowning the valley in its weight. His smile twists, cruel and delighted. Let's see how long you can last. Gratham roars and charges first, magma boiling along the cracks of his stone hide. His colossal axe blazes like a burning mountain, tearing through the air as it comes down on Vernoso's skull with bone-splitting force. At the same time, Valira descends from the clouds, wings thrumming with violent storms. She twists her serpentine body, mouth opening as she breathes out a Tier 6 gale infused with wind and lightning, a hurricane compressed into a spear of destruction. The earth shatters, the sky screams, and yet, clang. Gratham's axe freezes mid-swing, as though an invisible wall has caught it inches from Vernoso's head. Valira's storm spear disperses into harmless wisps before it even grazes him, shredded apart by nothing more than the air around the man. Vernoso doesn't flinch. He doesn't even raise a hand. His smirk deepens as he looks up at them. Did you really think it would be that easy? His tone drips with mockery. A Tier 7 being is protected by law itself. Your pretty little elemental tricks will never touch me. For a heartbeat, silence. Vernoso expects despair, maybe rage. But instead, he sees the opposite. Gratham's lips pull into a savage grin, magma dripping from his jaw. Valira's coils tighten, her eyes gleaming with stormlight. Gratham growls, his voice a rumble of stone grinding against stone. Thanks for the heads up. Valira hisses, sparks dancing across her scales. But we already knew that. Together, they draw forth small relics from their forms, unassuming trinkets that gleam with a light not born of this world. Not gifts from Alex. Not stolen spoils. These are theirs, hard-won, purchased, kept for a moment such as this. They crush the relics in their grasp. The air shudders. Law bends. When Gratham swings again, his axe no longer halts. It tears through the invisible veil and crashes against Vernoso's shoulder with a thunderous boom. Sparks fly, and for the first time, blood arcs through the air. Valira's storm spear follows, ripping into his side. The wind howls as it bites flesh, lightning carving deep grooves into his arm. Vernoso staggers half a step, shock flashing across his features. The wounds aren't fatal, but they hurt. His smirk dies. His eyes narrow, venomous, and cold. Impossible. You're Tier 6. You shouldn't. His words falter as he stares at them, fury swelling in his aura. You bypassed the law. Gratham bares his teeth, magma veins blazing brighter. You thinks you're untouchable just because of law. But we've clawed our way out of death before. Valira coils higher, her storm intensifying, voice cutting through the crack of thunder. Your mistake, human, was thinking only gods can challenge gods. Vernoso snarls, power flaring as the ground buckles beneath his feet. His voice drips with rage. You insects dare wound me? You'll regret that. But unseen in the folds of space, Zurich watches. Silent, patient, waiting for the moment Vernoso overcommits. Vernoso's fury ripples outward, fire licking along the edges of his aura like a living inferno. The heat is suffocating, the ground beneath him splitting open as molten cracks spread like veins. His voice carries a dark amusement, low and seething. You think those little trinkets will save you? You may bypass the veil of law, but you cannot withstand its wrath. He raises his hand, and the air ignites. Not a spell, not a skill. The law of fire itself bends to his will. Flames erupt without source or fuel, not conjured but commanded. They twist upward, devouring oxygen, burning hotter than any mortal fire. Pure essence, born from truth itself. The mountain ridge glows red as stone begins to melt. Valira recoils instinctively, her wings straining against the searing heat wave. Sparks crackle across her scales, the stormlight woven into her body flickering against the blaze. TSSK. This is giving me déjà vu. The power of law is absurd. Gratham plants his feet, magma pouring from the seams in his body, defiant against the inferno. His voice bellows over the roar. Doesn't matter. I'll cut it down all the same. Vernoso smirks, fire swirling tighter around his arm until it forges into a blade of burning law. It isn't a skill, not truly, but each swing carries the weight of inevitability. Stronger than any Tier 6, weaker only than the true Tier 7 skills or spells. He moves, and the valley itself screams. The flame blade carves outward, a crescent arc of searing law that tears through air and stone alike. Trees ignite in an instant. The earth cracks, glowing molten rivers spilling outward. Chapter 296, 295. Alex Arrive, Part 1. Chapter 296. Chapter 295. Alex Arrive, Part 1. Gratham raises his axe to meet it, the relic still thrumming in his veins. Steel and fire collide with a blast that levels half the ridge. The magma giant skids back, his arms trembling, flesh burning despite his stone skin. He snarls, coughing embers, but still he stands. Is that all, human? Above, Valira lashes out. She twists her body, wings cutting the air as she channels her relic once more, condensing storm and wind into a spiraling spear. She hurls it through the inferno, only for Vernoso's fire law to devour it midway, shredding the attack to sparks. Vernoso laughs, the sound cruel and ringing. No matter what you carry, you're still insects scratching at a dragon's scales. But the laughter hides calculation. He isn't using his true art yet, his single tier 7 skill, a trump card he hoards for the moment of absolute necessity. Until then, he wields only raw law, shaping it like a hammer and flame. Even that is enough to suppress 2 peak tier 6 monster. Vernoso steps forward, his aura swelling like a volcanic tide. Fire law coils around him, threads of molten truth bending to his command. His smirk returns, cold and vicious. Struggle harder. He sneers, voice dripping with contempt. It only makes your end more entertaining. The air shudders as 2 blades of living fire burst into being, forged from the very law of fire. They hover at his side, edges shimmering so hot the air warps around them. Unlike conjured weapons, these are not mere constructs. They are extensions of law itself, each stroke carrying weight far beyond tier 6. Valira's eyes narrow, lightning rippling violently across her scales. TSSK. Gratham's jaw clenches, magma dripping like blood as he hefts his axe. He's done playing. Vernoso flicks his wrist, and the 2 swords streak forward. Faster than thought, faster than sight. The valley shrieks as reality itself tears under their speed. For the first time, both falter. Gratham swings desperately, his axe howling as magma surges to meet the first blade. Valira coils, stormlight wrapping her form as she dives to intercept the second. And in that instant, the air fractures. Zurich erupts from the folds of space, his body tearing free from shadow, void fangs gleaming with a hunger older than stars. He slams into Vernoso's flank with bone-shattering force, ripping across the man's face. Grara! Vernoso reels, his concentration breaking. The fire swords veer, their perfect arcs shattering into chaos. Gratham roars, twisting his axe at the last heartbeat. The redirected sword slams into the earth behind him, exploding into a molten crater. The land convulses, a lake of lava swallowing everything in a 100-meter span. Above, Valira shrieks, her wings thrashing storms into the sky as she diverts her blade skyward. Cuts through the clouds instead, splitting the heavens with fire and lightning. The valley is torn apart, yet the 2 monsters stand, barely breathing, battered but alive. And Vernoso? Blood drips down his cheek in a jagged line, the mark of Zurich's fangs carved deep across his face. His smirk is gone. His eyes blaze with unrestrained fury. You! His voice shakes, not from fear, but pure wrath. A tier 6 insect dared to scar me. Vernoso's aura explodes, the ground liquefying under his feet. Fire roars skyward, blotting out the horizon, his control unraveling beneath the storm of his anger. Gratham braces his axe, magma veins pulsing like drums. Looks like you pissed him off, mutt. The ground shakes beneath Vernoso's fury. Firelaw streams from his body, weaving into dozens of burning weapons. Swords, spears, halberds. Each one a fragment of the world's truth sharpened into killing edge. They circle him like a crown of destruction, their heat so intense the ridge itself begins to sag and melt. Valira narrows her eyes, stormlight flashing violently across her scales. He's turning the battlefield into his forge. Gratham bares his fangs, driving his colossal axe into the molten ground as magma surges through his veins. His voice thunders like an eruption. Then steel yourself. The true battle begins now. The first volley comes, a rain of fire lances shrieking through the air. Valira surges forward, wings thrumming as she whips a hurricane wall into being. Wind and lightning churn together, compressing into a spiraling barrier. The lances slam into it, breaking apart like arrows striking a storm cloud, though each impact rattles her bones. Hold! She hisses, sparks flying off her body. Gratham slams his axe into the ground, molten cracks racing outward. Lava erupts in a wave, consuming the fragmented lances and forcing Vernoso's second volley to swerve. His roar shakes the battlefield. Break against the mountain! And then Zurich moves. The void warg flickers in and out of sight, his body slipping between folds of space. He darts through the firestorm, tearing into the blind spots Vernoso leaves behind, each strike forcing the human to redirect one of his law weapons. Their rhythm takes form: storm, magma, void. Valira's storm funnels Vernoso's weapons into narrow paths, Gratham's magma walls cut them down, and Zurich darts through the chaos to harry Vernoso directly. Tier 6 skills, normally scattered and dissonant, weave together with surgical precision. Valira coils above, drawing in the storm, her voice sharp with command. Now Gratham up! He thrusts his axe skyward, magma detonating along its edge. Valira dives at the same time, her storm lashing into the axe's swing. The 2 forces fuse, lightning carried on molten stone, a storm of fire and thunder crashing down toward Vernoso. For the first time, his footing falters. He parries, yes, but his arm trembles. Zurich lunges from behind, void-coated claws raking across Vernoso's back. The wound is shallow, but it draws another hiss of pain. Keep pressing, Gratham roars. But Vernoso's laughter cuts through the roar of battle, bitter and sharp. Harmonize all you like. Your combined strength is still no more than a needle stabbing at the sun. He thrusts out his hand, and half the floating weapons flare. Dozens of fire blades scream outward at once. A storm of law so dense it blots out the sky. The storm of fire law cuts the sky open, and for a full minute, the battlefield is nothing but light, heat, and chaos. Valira dives and coils, her scales burning but her storm still alive, splitting weapon after weapon with raw lightning. Gratham's arms quake with strain as he meets blow after blow, his magma walls shattering under the weight of each flaming halberd. Zurich flickers in and out of space, intercepting the strikes they cannot block, his void-soaked claws tearing away at the edges of fire law before it can reach flesh. But even harmony has limits. A single spear of law pierces through, too fast, too sharp. It smashes into Gratham's chest, hurling the magma giant backward. Blood mixed with molten stone sprays from his mouth as he crashes into the ridge, gouging a crater into the earth. Valira cries out, only to be struck by another blade across her flank. Her storm scatters, lightning dissolving as she spirals downward, wings flailing. Zurich leaps, intercepting a sword aimed for her heart, but it catches him mid-phase, burning through his hide. His howl splits the battlefield as void light flickers from the wound. The three crash back, beaten down, their breaths ragged, bodies trembling. Vernoso floats above the ruined ridge, Firelaw circling him like a crown of suns. His expression is one of contempt, not triumph. Pathetic. Is that all? You didn't even make me sweat. He lets his fire blades hum louder, spinning into a halo of execution. His gaze sharpens, cold and merciless. But I will admit this, you three lasted longer than most Tier 6 trash. For that, I offer you a choice. He spreads his arms, his smile cruel. Bow your heads. Become my pets. My slaves. Serve me, and I'll let you crawl beside me when I burn your king clean. Valira, blood dripping from her mouth, lifts her head and laughs. Low, bitter, but clear. Ha ha ha. Are you even worthy? You can't hold a candle to his majesty. Vernoso's smile dies, his eyes narrowing into pure venom. Then die. The circle of law weapons sharpens, each blade vibrating with killing intent. In a single motion, they scream downward, a storm of fire sharper than inevitability itself. And then, clang. Every blade freezes mid-air. Inches from flesh, from blood, they shudder as though seized by something greater. A hand rests against one of them, calm, steady, unburned. The figure wasn't there before. Now he is, standing between Vernoso and the three, his back to them, his presence like a wall that cannot fall. Alex. Hello everyone, this is Shadow. Due to copyright restrictions on YouTube, I can't publish many of the audiobooks you love. That's why I've created a special paid service where you can enjoy over 300 high-quality audiobooks from platforms like Webnovel, Pocket FM, Audible, Wuxia, and more. Each novel comes as a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, no hidden fees. After payment, you'll receive full access via Telegram, along with all future updates for that novel. You'll find a wide selection of your favorite genres and titles, always in premium audio quality. Check the full list of available novels in the description. DM me now to get your favorite stories in audiobook form and start listening today.